Welcome back. This is part 3 in our series of 5 short videos introducing you to incident management and request fulfillment on the ServiceNow.com platform. The 5 parts of this series are Part 1, Introduction, Part 2, Creating a Ticket, Part 3, which is this particular section where we'll focus on investigation and diagnosis and escalation, Part 4, Resolving a Ticket, and Part 5, some tips on searching templates and reports. What you'll get out of this segment is investigation and diagnosis. You all know about investigation and diagnosis. That's where you gather the data from the customer, you analyze it, and either you resolve the incident or you refer it to a more appropriate resource, someone in your group or another group. We'll talk about saving the ticket. The last 2 fields required to save the ticket are the short description and the description. The short description is particularly important because it gets auto-filled into the subject line of every email communication that goes out on this ticket. It's also what shows up in the list view anytime you look at a list of tickets. The description, of course, is a place where we put as much information as we can gather from the customer about the incident at hand. And then finally, once we've saved the ticket, Matt will walk you through working the ticket. He'll show you how to do work notes. He'll show you how to make attachments. So with that, Matt, if you'll take him to the tool.
Thank you, Dennis. So as Dennis mentioned, the last 2 fields we need are short description and description. The short description, as he said, goes out as a subject line to every customer-facing email and is included in the body of those emails as well. So we want to make sure that it's concise but accurate in customer-friendly language. We really want to make sure it's short and concise too, because it shows up in our views of list of tickets, and the longer that field gets, the more difficult it is for us to actually sort through our own tickets or tickets that we need to assign to other individuals. So short, concise description. We'll say for this instance, Dennis is having an issue with Outlook on his laptop. So we could say, Outlook freezes laptop. And then in the description field is where we want to get more verbose and wordy, including things like error messages, details about the system, OS, any sort of additional details we can gather, relevant information from the customer. So in this case, we'll say every time Outlook icon is clicked, laptop freezes before Outlook logo appears. Okay. So at this point, we can now actually save the ticket. All of our mandatory fields are filled in. If we click on Save, it will save the ticket and keep us on focus on this ticket. If we hit Save and Return, it will save this ticket and return us to whatever previous screen we were at, often the list of incidents, but also could be your home page. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and save. Okay. So some other things you're going to want to do while you work on this ticket is in the IT watch list and the work notes field below. Work notes is where you'd keep your working diary, things that you tried and didn't work, things you tried that did work, where you did any sort of contact with the customer. Anything that's working to the progression of this ticket you'd want to include in the work notes. So in this case, we'll say we're trying to call Dennis for an appointment. But he wasn't home, so we left a voicemail. If I save that, it'll get put into the activity log. The IT watch list, you can add individuals to actually keep track and get notified whenever that activity log gets updated. You can click the little blue person to add yourself to that ticket, and then when you escalate it to another group, you'll get notified whenever they reassign the ticket, whenever they add work notes, whenever an email is received into that ticket, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that's written to the work log will get written to that email to that user. Another good test case is maybe you're working on a very important ticket or a VIP ticket, and your boss wants to stay informed on every move of that ticket. You can always add your boss to that ticket as well. And now we'll both get notified whenever there's any activity done on that ticket. Let me go ahead and save that. Some other things you're going to want to do is assign it to an individual within your group. So if you're a queue manager or a manager and you need to assign this to a ticket, you can always click on the magnifying glass. It'll show you just the individuals within that group that I can assign tickets to. We'll go ahead and save that. In order to change assignment or assignment groups, you have to clear both fields, and we've conveniently provided these red X's to change both those fields if you need to reassign it to another group. And also, when you're reassigning it to another group, be sure to indicate why in the work log. And then hit save, and that will reassign it to that group. And right now, I'm just going to go ahead and update this with the test so people understand that this is a test. And I'm going to assign that to myself using the Assign to Me button. Okay. As you move this, change the assignments, it'll automatically change the status for you. Unassigned means the ticket is assigned to a group but not assigned to an individual, therefore not assigned any personal responsibility. Assigned means assigned to a group and assigned to an individual. Somebody is responsible for that ticket. And Dennis will go over about ownership and assignment in just a minute, right after this section. Now, to email the customer from the ticket, click on Email the Customer, and it will automatically open up an email client addressed to the customer. Anybody that was in the customer watch list will appear in the CC line. Includes the ticket number, and you'll notice it includes that test subject string from the short description. Here you can just type in the body of the message and use capitals and whatever you want. Please be courteous. Go ahead and hit send. It will automatically include your name, the person logged in, and a default Hewitt branded signature. You can also attach files before you send this message. And with quick messages, which we go to in additional videos, describes, gives you a boilerplate or templated automatic response message. Go ahead and hit send on that. Other things you can do is attach files. Up to the upper right in the upper right of the ticket toolbar, there's a paperclip icon. Click on that paperclip icon and it will allow you to choose files. I'll go ahead and choose any file. Hit open. It will automatically upload that file to the cloud. And when it does, it'll appear at the top of the ticket right underneath the red top bar. It'll say Manage Attachments, how many attachments, the attachment name, and then a View button for pictures which you can actually, like pings and JPEGs and screenshots, you can click on View and it'll show up in a pop-up window. Otherwise, click on the attachment itself. It'll download it to your computer so you can access it. And every time I have done one of these, I have saved the ticket, and you'll see how it builds up the activity log. Emails will show up in the activity log as you send them with a little icon and a plus sign, and it will show you the actual content of that email when you click the plus sign so you can see what was actually being sent.
Thank you, Matt. So Matt spoke about assignment. So we're going to talk a little bit more about assignment. We're going to talk about, and this is in the context of escalation. The escalation phase is when you refer a ticket to someone else within your group or to another group that may be more appropriate to resolve the ticket. So we've talked about default assignment groups. We're also going to talk about ticket ownership. We're going to mention the Hewitt values, and we're going to talk about communications. When we talk about assignment, it's important to note that You or many of your colleagues participated in a number of process development workshops from which the process was finalized and codified, and it is from that process that the tool was configured in order to support our work. Some things that came out of the process development workshops were particular policies or recommendations regarding things like assignment and ownership. And so we want to highlight a few of these. So first of all, we want to make sure the ticket is assigned to the appropriate group. Now, if you assign it to the group that the tool recommends, that's fine. But if you decide to override that recommendation, it's helpful to note in the work notes why you chose a different group. If it's assigned to your group incorrectly, correct it. And it's also helpful if you have some idea as to why it might have gotten assigned to you incorrectly. The third point here is very important. Do not assign it to a specific individual in another group without prior agreement. So if you've got someone on the phone from another group who says, yes, I understand what's going on, assign it to me, that's fine. You can assign it to that person. But it's very important that the groups be allowed to determine for themselves the process by which tickets would be accepted or assigned. So when you assign it, when you escalate it to another group, escalate it to the group, and the queue manager is the person accountable for ensuring that those tickets are either picked up or assigned in a timely fashion. Let's talk about ownership. The group to which the ticket is assigned owns that ticket. The group that owns the ticket is obviously expected to track and monitor the progress on that ticket. But this is another very important point. The group that owns the ticket is expected to communicate with the end user or users the status and the progress on that ticket. We've all had the experience of calling one of the major phone companies or cable companies and wondering 3 days later why we haven't heard back from them. It's important for the users to feel like we are making progress on their ticket. And in order to do that, we need to communicate with them. So speaking about communications and ownership, we've all heard of the Hewitt values, UCIO, user-focused, collaborative, innovative, and open. Let's apply those values to our work. What does that mean? It means taking personal responsibility for resolving the situation, for getting those customers back up and running. Focus on what you can do for them and not what you can't do for them. Don't make commitments you can't keep. If you make a commitment, keep it. And don't make commitments for others that they might not be able to keep. And finally, sometimes the telephone is the best communications tool. If you only need a small piece of information to move this across the finish line, pick up the phone and call that end user. It's also particularly important if it's a sensitive or if the end user feels that they've been neglected. Speaking of email communication in particular, always be professional. We know that online communications has a very lengthy half-life. And at some point, we'll open this up to end users with the customer portal. So don't put anything into an email or into the ticket that you wouldn't want the end user or your mother to see. Avoid the technical jargon. You certainly can use it with the IT watch list and among your colleagues, but the customers don't need to know about the technical jargon. Keep your messages succinct. Oftentimes, less is more. And finally, write as you would speak. Read the email, preferably aloud, before you hit the send button. Sometimes omitting a single word or adding a word will change the whole tone of an email. That's it. Matt?
Thanks, Dennis. That concludes part 3 of our 5 short video series on incident management and request fulfillment within ServiceNow. We hope you enjoyed it. Please remember, you can always give us your feedback at ITSM@harvard.edu, and that on our website, huyt.harvard.edu/ITSM, we can view any of our videos, download additional training material, training guides, and FAQs, and the quick reference brochure. Or you can always practice with the tool directly at harvardtest.service-now.com. Remember, mail is not enabled on that system, so you can create tickets without fear of emailing the customers. Thank you.